Hey guys, welcome. I'm Presley. Today we're going to be going over my March and April reads. I read 14 books. Go me! Okay, let's just dive right in. The first book I read in March was The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This book is about a wedding that's taking place in this little reclusive island in Ireland. And there's some murder afoot. All these people got like really suspicious like motives. It's like this whole little thing that fits together at the end, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I actually, now that I've had time to sit on it, I kind of think that I saw the ending coming. I feel like it was slightly predictable, but I can see this being a really good gateway thriller. So I can see why everyone likes this. I can see why there's hype. The next book I read was Killjoy by Holly Jackson. This is a little novella, belongs to the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. It kind of sets up the first book in a way like you don't need to, but it's just kind of fun if you're a fan of the series. And she goes to a murder mystery party and she solves the murder mystery. It's super fun. Besides, I love the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, and Pip is such a fun character, so seeing the way her like brain works is so fun to read about. Okay, I read a lot of Titanic books recently. I read Our Story, celebrating the 20th anniversary of the 1998 Titanic expedition by Bill Willard. In 1998, they brought up the big piece, which is like this big 20-ton piece of the Titanic. They brought it from the ocean floor, and it resides in the Las Vegas exhibit in the Luxor Hotel. You can go check out my video down below where I go and see it. And this was just really fun because it's actually not really about the Titanic that much. It's more about the expedition and what that experience was like for all the people and crew that were on the expedition recovering Titanic artifacts. It's cool because it's also just people who are passionate about the Titanic and wanting to recover artifacts. I had a lot of fun with it. I think that I would absolutely love to go out on a voyage like this. I think it would be so much fun. This was really fun if you're like a Titanic nerd or like you like sea stories. So I recently traveled to Las Vegas, and so I also read The Secret Diamond Sisters by Michelle Maddow. These were the two Las Vegas books I picked out. And this is about these three sisters who find out their father is like this billionaire and he has all these hotels on the strip in Vegas, and they have to go live with him. And it's super like Gossip Girl vibes, but I didn't love it. I think I would have loved it a lot more if I read it when I was in middle school because, you know, it's just like those teenage girl vibes. But also, I'm not really a Gossip Girl fan. At the same time, I really enjoyed it because I love Vegas and I love the atmosphere and I love the feeling of Vegas. So I love books that are set in Vegas. So I think I gave this 3 stars. The next book I read is super exciting because I read 12 Nights at Rotterhouse by J.W. Ocker. This is about an author who wants to write an immersive story about Rotterhouse, which is said to be haunted. Tons of murders have taken place in the house, so he goes and stays in the house and starts writing his story. And it's so good. I would totally recommend this to horror fans. At the same time, I did not think it was that scary. There were moments where I was like, okay, I don't feel like I can read this at night-ish. It's a stretch. It really wasn't that scary at all. I think it's super fun. I had a really good time with this. I also did not see that ending coming. This was a fun book. The next book I read was The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot. I had to read this for my nursing class, and I can see why healthcare professionals would need to read this book because it really emphasizes on patient individuality and helping patients make good decisions when it comes to their own healthcare and involving them in their own healthcare, because this woman did not get those options. It takes place in the 1950s during segregation, and she was a Black woman seeking treatment for cervical cancer. Doctors took samples of her cervix, and these cancer cells started rapidly growing, and they got sent in mass shipments around the world, and they've been used in the polio vaccine, the COVID vaccine. They've been used in everything. Her cells have contributed so much to science, But Henrietta never actually gave consent for them to take her cells, and her family's been living in poverty this whole time. So it kind of brings up this like debate of like, what's crossing a line? How do you do justice with science, but also that this is a human being? So I really enjoy this. I did not think I was going to actually read the whole thing, and I read the whole thing. I loved it. Ooh, another 5-star read. The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. I don't want to say this is my favorite Riley Sager book, but it's up there. It could be. It might be better than Lock Every Door. I don't know. This book is about this recovering alcoholic-ish, she's not really recovering, who goes and stays at her family lake house. And she's kind of just vibing. She's using binoculars, staring out the binoculars at her neighbors. And she kind of notices that the wife of her neighbors goes missing, and she thinks that the husband did it. It's so good. I did not think Riley Sager would go the direction that he did. His writing is my favorite. I loved this. 10 out of 10. This was so good. Okay, the last book I read in March was Daughter of the Siren Queen by Trisha Levenseller. This is the second book in the Daughter of the Pirate King duology, and I had really fun with this. I think I gave it 4 stars. It just kind of wraps everything up real nicely. I had a good time with this. Into April now. I read The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. This book is about a girl who is at a summer camp when she's 13, and all of her roommates in her cabin just disappear dead into the night. They have like no idea what happens, and she kind of has all this trauma built up from it because she has no idea what happened to them, and she was kind of the only survivor or person who could have known. So then she decides to go back to the summer camp when she's an adult. I think it's like 15 years later, to try and figure out what happened to them. And honestly, it's fun. It's super fun because it gives you summer campy vibes, so I would definitely, like, I am an occasion reader, so like if I'm in Las Vegas, I'm gonna read Las Vegas books. If you're going to a summer camp, read this book. The next book I read was Futility, or The Wreck of the Titan by Morgan Robertson. This book was said to have been a prophecy of the sinking of the Titanic, and I kind of just wanted to see for myself how realistic and true that was. And I decided that it's really not that realistic and true. If you compare the Titan to ships of its time, it's not really outside of the box. It's not really like a stretch to Titanic. It's not really that similar. There's a couple similarities here and there. I have a whole video about it if you want to go check it out. But I did really enjoy it because honestly, it's more of a love story than it is about a sinking ship. And Morgan Robertson changed its name to The Wreck of the Titan after the Titanic sank because he wanted to, profit on all that media coverage. So it really isn't about a sinking ship all that much. It's more about like a love, this guy like pining after a girl. It's cute though. Okay, I read another Titanic book. I read A Night to Remember by Walter Lord. Yes, I annotated my first book ever, like willingly, not for homework, and it was so fun. I had such a good time with this. This is kind of the Titanic Holy Bible in a way, and I think it's incredible. Walter Lord also had the benefit of interviewing actual Titanic survivors, where any books published today aren't going to because they've all passed away. I think that's also what makes this so classic. But Walter Lord also, like, he has little subtle, like, pieces in here that, like, really show his inflection and his voice into how he's narrating the story, and it's so good. It reads like a novel. If you're a Titanic nerd, just read it. Okay, the next book I read was Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This book really reminded me a lot of this book. This book is about a girl who was living with her dad in Bainbury Hall. It was supposedly haunted. A lot of paranormal stuff was going on. Her and her family ended up fleeing 25 days into living at the house. They were like, no, we're leaving. And her dad wrote a novel about it, published it. It became super famous. After her dad's death, she decides she's gonna go back and figure out if her dad's novel was truth, if it's full of lies. I liked this more than The Last Time I Lied, so I think I gave this 4 stars. It was pretty good. Oh, another 5-star read. I read Bunny by Mona Awad. Okay, you think that this is gonna be like a weird sorority kind of novel. It's not. We meet the main character, Samantha, who kind of despises these girls on campus who like weirdly call each other bunny. It's like a cult and a sorority in a way, and they like all hang out together and they're just like princesses and rainbows. And if you read this whole novel, it's like crazy. It gets super culty. You find yourself like going like, what the heck is going on? But if you like, I don't want to like say too much, but like if you look up what's going on, you'll like figure out and you're like, oh, that's what's going on. And it's crazy. I enjoyed this so much. I think that the way she told this story was so good. Okay, the last book I read this month was Billy Summers by Stephen King. My first Stephen King novel. I was influenced by Haley Pham. I loved this. And the ending made me so sad. I hate it when your like judgment gets clouded from the end of a novel making you sad. This was so good though. Meet Billy Summers. He's an assassin. He's like, I'm done, guys. I want to get out of the business. And then these guys are like, no, Billy, one more job. And he's like, all right. So he has to assassinate this guy from a really tall building that's got like perfect clearance to a courthouse. But he has to have a reason to be in that office building. So part of his cover is to be an author, a freelance author. And so while he's assuming this cover role, he starts writing a book. And it was so good. I gave this 5 stars. I highly recommend it. Also, takes place in Vegas in part of the novel. Also, takes place in Colorado in part of the novel. Stephen King references the Overlook Hotel in this, which I think that was a fun little Easter egg. It's just like classic. I really, really enjoyed this. I thought this was so great. It was so good. I had a really, really good reading month. Everything went great. Hopefully, I can manage this much reading in the next 2 months. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.